Hello, and welcome to week 5 of your liminal coaching course. I'm Mike Parker. This week, we are looking at the different types of subconscious prompting that tend to be referred to as intuition, though they can be very different, and I think from different parts of ourselves. It's clear from the evidence in neuroscience and psychology that the unconscious consists of diverse sources of impulse and influence. We are almost certainly only beginning to scratch the surface of how many different types of impulse and influence may be generated by different parts of our brains and nervous systems working either independently or in conjunction with one another in various combinations. There is little doubt that what I refer to as the primitive brain centered on the amygdala is a significant source of these impulses, and they are mostly to do with survival, desire, procreation, etc. These impulses are capable of radically modifying our conscious thought and are probably the origin of many of the decisions that we make. But focusing only on this source of influence and impulse fails to consider parts of the rest of the brain which are also unconscious. Consider the records of people being able to frame a problem of high complexity, dwell on it, and effectively program the unconscious to solve it while sleeping, as one example. One of the most far-reaching paradigm shifts in scientific history was the development of the periodic table of elements by Mendeleev, who said, "I saw in a dream a table where all elements fell into place as required. Awakening, I immediately wrote it down on a piece of paper. Only in one place did a correction later seem necessary." In this case, it seems to me to be highly likely that a great deal of very rapid pattern matching is involved. There are innovative and creative elements as well, which not only produce models that are an assembly of bits of previous memory, but also develop completely new patterns. I suggest that this type of intuition, with its solution creation capability, is a function of a subconscious part or network of parts of the higher brain. Current writing on intuition also tends to ignore the phenomenon of savant calculators, which suggest further capabilities for ultra-rapid, possibly parallel processed calculations being performed either by the brain or by part of the nervous system. I think it's likely that this same mechanism could be in play in some types of sudden insight. In the area of cognitive and emotional empathy, there is neuroscience and psychological research around the function of the orbitofrontal cortex. The capacity for processing vast amounts of subconsciously perceived information about tones of voice, body language, and micro expressions on the faces of people we are talking to is remarkable, and it happens in real time. Our subconscious does a fabulous job of processing vast amounts of data all the time. Were we to attempt to process this data through sequential conscious thought, we would very rapidly find ourselves completely overwhelmed. There is evidence to show that the conclusions communicated to the conscious mind about people's honesty and their disposition, experienced as gut feel, are often very accurate. In fact, without reliable harmonized inputs from a range of sources which are unconscious, we would almost certainly not be able to operate socially at all. There is no question that the perceptions from the orbitofrontal cortex are sometimes distorted by the influence of our more basic survival mechanism. If that mechanism is overactive or highly sensitized as a result of traumatic experiences or high levels of stress, then the coloration can be so extreme as to falsify conclusions we reach. This distortion can result in conviction about the truth of a misperception. For example, that someone is out to get you. So, we have several areas of subconscious input that affect what we think and feel and what we decide to do. A tentative breakdown might be gut feel, orbitofrontal cortex, the limbic system survival responses based around the amygdala, pattern matching, circumstance analysis, part of the unconscious higher brain, innovative solution creation and new paradigm generation, another part of the unconscious higher brain. So here alone are 4 broad sources, quite different from one another, which could all be labeled intuition at different times. Against this background, we have developed several metaphorical scenarios designed to help stimulate processes such as solution creation, empathic insight, and gut feel. This week's guided relaxation, the Navigator, synthesizes the different sources of intuitive input around the theme of knowing your direction. It is a response to the need to recognize the scope and power of embodied consciousness. It is about thinking with the whole of your being. We need recognition of the single continuum of body, brain, mind, and feeling that constitutes being. So this scenario uses a metaphor that suggests this being entwines with the field of existence that we see as the world around us. Body, mind, brain, and consciousness are not separate things. This module builds on the work of previous weeks. As we work through unresolved subconscious material, we reduce the tendency to color and even subvert intuitive promptings from different sources in the unconscious. This reduction of distortion is one of the results of the first 3 guided relaxation scenarios. By cleaning the mirror of the unconscious, releasing the effects of previously unprocessed memories, and recognizing the relative nature of our beliefs, the reflected intuitive perceptions become far more accurate and much more open. In the Navigator exploration, we open a field of suggestion. People using it can allow themselves to connect with a combined perception using all the parts of themselves to allow their personal, inherent, deep direction to emerge. Again, there is no prescription of what this direction is or how you will experience it. The purpose is to open a doorway of possibility. It's you who steps through the door. What is there may share some features with what others find, or it may not, but it will always be unique. So, download the Navigator and during the next week, continue with your notes and reflect on what decisions or problems you can clarify using your intuition. To help with this, you can download the Liminal Pomodoro document, which explains the value of daydream and how you can practice this. And that's it for this week. In week 6, we're going to build an inner landscape designed to connect with flow states. I hope you have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.